This is the IMDb show presented by our friends at Microsoft Surface. Keegan-Michael Key, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Man, this is going to be such a pleasure. You've got two big movies coming out. You've got The Lion King and you've got Toy Story 4. You must be so rich right now.
That's right. If only, yeah, if only.
Let's talk about
where are the box office? I get no box office bonuses right now.
You got to negotiate.
I'll tell you what I am. I'm rich in experience.
Yes, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
Let's do Toy Story 4.
Sure.
You are playing Ducky. Now, the more and more I do this job of interviewing actors, I realize that voiceover work isn't just showing up in your pajamas, turning on a microphone, and delivering lines. There's an art to it. There's a whole other world. Break it down to me. What makes a great voiceover artist?
What makes a great voiceover artist? I think part of it is that you're having to rely on your imagination so much more than you do sometimes. It's a case-by-case thing. But I think that you're using your imagination more than you would be in regular live-action filmmaking. Because very often, especially nowadays with live-action filmmaking, unless you're really dedicated to a soundstage, filmmakers are often looking for the verisimilitude of real life.
Do not use big words in this
I can't use that word?
Absolutely
not. The problem is that's the actual word for what it is. but we use real, what happens is people are using real locations and you're feeling the wind and you can smell the reactor plant and you see the cars and you feel the exhaust. And if you're playing somebody who's walking through traffic in a major city in an animated piece, you find yourself going, okay, I've got to manufacture all of that. Very often, what happens is the director will give you the scenario of what's taking place. Okay, you guys remember we're on page 53, so we're after the he got his superpowers, and now this is happening. And so then I have to make a movie in my head that stars the character that they've usually shown you on a placard. Because that's typically what you'll get. You'll get an image of what your character is, right, and some images or renderings of what the world looks like. So now you have to dump that into my brain and then reconjure it and fast forward the movie in my brain to that place. It's funny, in live action, I'm very much fast forwarding my emotional journey. In animation, I'm fast forwarding the whole movie to that place and your emotional journey. So it's in a manner of speaking, you're doing 3 or 4 times the work, but it's not a difficult thing to do. What it is it's just tapping into that part of you that we now spend a good deal of time pushing off to the corner and suppressing, because I've got to pay bills and I've got a car note and I've got to do this.
It's that childlike imagination.
It's the childlike imagination. That's exactly what it is. It's that you need to access.
It's at home imagining things.
Right. I remember being a kid. You could just sit in the garden for a day and watch ants, and I'm that ant. And then you can see in your mind you being here, and the blade of grass that looks like it's 10 feet tall next to you, and you can do that effortlessly. And then of course life starts to happen, and that part gets suppressed. That you stop working that muscle for other more practical muscles. But it's the most practical muscle in this particular discipline.
How much work goes on before you even walk into that VO booth? Let's take, for example, the character of Ducky. Do you have to work through various incarnations and versions of that voice of what he sounds like before you even get there?
Yes, you do. You definitely do. With Ducky, I think a lot of it was I had a lot of help when it came to Ducky, because I had Jordan with me, and I had Josh Cooley, the director, and the script went through lots of incarnations. But what was interesting is that Jordan and Josh and I and Mark, one of the producers, we all started discussing, well, what can we pull from the Key and Peele bag that would help inform the movie? Right. Is there anything that from our vast array of work that can help solidify and enhance the relationship between Ducky and Bunny, which also solidifies and enhances the relationship and makes it more cohesive with what we mean to Woody, what we mean to Bo Peep, what we mean to Buzz. And so what we kind of came upon was there's a type of characters that Jordan and I would play in Key and Peele, called peas in a pod. So you have characters that have conflict with each other, whatever that conflict may be, moral conflict, physical conflict, and you've seen that in dozens of Key and Peele sketches. One-upsmanship.
Yeah. If you see the smile on my face, it's because I love Key and Peele. So this is a real treat and an honor. Go on.
Right. And then there's another. Then the peas in the pod characters are those who share a viewpoint. They share a point of view with zeal.
Right.
So those two people, for example, the valets, the valets, right? As opposed to someone like Cedric and Levi, where is a classic Laurel and Hardy dynamic, where it's like, man, I could just do an Alice and Ralph situation. Yeah. But when you have somebody like those guys, you're two guys that both love the same thing and want to either commiserate it or celebrate it in a similar way. So we wanted there to be an element of that. We wanted a pastiche. We wanted there to be an element of that with Ducky and Bunny, and we wanted there to be an element of the one-upsmanship. And with a little dash of old married couple.
Okay.
Right, because am I allowed to talk about the movie? No, it won't have come out yet.
It would have come out.
It would have come out.
Yes, 6 days ago.
Given the world that they've lived in, that they've existed in, and this is the work that you're doing beforehand. A lot of it was sitting and listening to Josh explain the world, what the journey is for the protagonist, and how you fit into it, and then explain about what the world is some more. You know, the rules of the world, the promises that we want to fulfill in the writing. How can you help that, and how does your characterization help that? So what we did is we tried to find a way to say, okay, how much? What is the mosaic? How much henpecked husband, or how much peas in a pod? How much Stan and Laurel? How much Bud and Abbott? Bud and Lou?
Yeah.
You know, so that we get an amalgam that is truly and originally Ducky and Bunny.
Do you remember what he sounded like the first time you did him, and then give me a version of, walk me through the evolution of what the voices went through?
At the beginning, because looking at his little mouth and just he's kind of a puffball. So I kind of had a higher voice, and I kind of started doing this kind of thing, like a little Joe Pesci type of thing. And then because of the environment, we realized that the environment that they lived in had to be a little more gritty. And then it was like we started going, so what do we want to do a New York thing? Do we want to do an urban thing? Like, this is urban, but what kind of urban are we looking for? And I will tell you to your face, if you're the director, I'm just gonna keep going. You tell me what you like, because we can go here, we can do something real southern, and I don't care if you want to do like Georgia or Jimmy Carter or Red Jesse Jackson, whatever you want me to do, I can do. Or I can just knock it down like this, man. We can just jazz it up and do a little bit like this. Get this shit syncopated, whatever you want. And I literally, depending on the director and a project, I've had a project, right there, what's going on? What's going on right there? What's going on right there? And then the fun of it, of course, was that Jordan and I can just go, number 32. Okay, Josh, get ready. We're gonna give you a little heavy 56 right now. You ready? Break. And then so they could watch, actually not just me, but the dynamic between the two of us. And then he and I can riff for him. And go, oh, I like that. Oh, that's good. Oh, just like when we played. Oh, when we played Tim. Right. Oh, and that sketch number 6. And then, okay, break. And then we're like, here, Josh, we're ready to get a load of this. And so it was originally this kind of high pitched, this kind of tinny sound.
And where'd it end up?
And it ended up really kind of urban. It ended up like it's just like two brothers kind of sitting on the porch just talking about, hey, I'll tell you something else, man. Kawhi Leonard, man, I'll tell you what, he better get his act together. They ain't never going to be. Now, the NBA Finals will be over when this happens, so we'll see if I can predict this.
Even the way you're sitting.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, man, let me explain something to you, man. The salary cap has killed the entire sport. That's what I'm saying. It's an African-American man who has seen a lot, but also may have gone to college or not. And he may have or may not have gone to college, but he's seen a lot because the thing is, they're on a pegboard.
Right.
They're on a pegboard, and what the interesting thing about their reality is, all they've seen their entire existence, they were made in a factory in Taiwan, shipped, so it was just dark for 3 months on a barge. Then they get slapped up on a wall with a bunch of other toys that look just like them, and then they just watch a carny dupe kids. And the thing about the peg wall is, right now there's only like 3 animals left in that peg. They never get picked.
Right.
And they're actually connected to each other too. So we took that literal thing of them being connected to each other and made sure that we build more of a history. I thought it made sense that Josh would hire a comedy team that's been working together for 15 years.
For sure.
What? Look, there's tons of millions of fantastic actors, but why take 2 people who don't know each other and try to build chemistry? We can just grab 2 people who have chemistry.
Right.
And so we wanted that connected at the hip, been married 50 years, but it's funny. When they say they've seen a lot of things, it means that every day that they've set up the clapboard and hooked and hung them up, they're just going, whew. I'm looking at, now why in the world would she be married to him? Look at this thing. What? That's a jam right there. Like a person walks by with a radio. You know what I mean? Like it's just, they've seen so much.
So it goes without saying, you guys fell right back into sync.
Right back into sync. It was riding a bike.
I also like how you describe each other as an old married couple as well.
We're the happiest, healthiest old married couple. We don't fight. We have not. I think I can think of one fight in the entire existence of Key and Peele.
What was it?
It was at the beginning, and it was a misunderstanding. I had forgotten something Jordan had asked of me. That was what it was. There was a sketch that we did. Jordan didn't feel really great about it, and he wanted. And we were talking to the EPs. We were putting her up the lineup for the pilot. And
Stressful.
I promised him that I have his back about either burying this scene or let's really have a substantive discussion whether or not we want to do it. And I forgot that I had told him that. And that was it.
Keegan.
And it was done. It was done like in 3 hours. You know what I mean? You know,
3 years later.
He's still holding a grudge now.
Did you guys are, I think one of the reasons why I love Key and Peele so much, I found it at a time where everyone else was finding other things funny that I wasn't finding funny, and I found Key and Peele and I was like, they made a show for me. Because I have a bit of a raunchy sense of humor. So when you guys have that embedded in you and you do Key and Peele, because it's a little bit above G-rated, then you do Toy Story, do you have to then tone everything down, or do they welcome that? Because actually adults get a kick out of watching Toy Story 4 for the hidden little nuances.
I think mostly what it is you don't alter much other than vernacular. You're just changing words. They want the edge. They want you to go, man, if you don't, this. We all know the next word.
Of course, yeah.
We know what this woman over here trying to make me crazy. Can you let a lot, so that the adult can identify, let the adult relish what would be in the parenthetical.
Right.
But there's not much difference. All I'm trying to do is either do character development, which is watch how I would respond to this character, or how they as a tandem respond to a character. That's different than how Woody responds to the character, or responds to a situation.
Right.
And that's where the thing about Pixar is that's where most of the comedy's coming from.
For sure.
So we didn't alter our way of doing comedy that much. It's because the principles stay intact. The principles are the same. It's just that what happens is that we could throw an F-bomb in here, we can throw an N-word over here, we can put a GD over here. We just know that it's just a different playing field, right? It's just like when you do period work. If someone does a period piece that's set in the Restoration era, or you're speaking Middle English, it's just human life with a couple more parameters,
right?
Or human life with less parameters. That's all.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. Tell me the first time you ever met Jordan Peele. Where were you? Who were you? How old were you guys? What was he wearing? What was the deal?
Jordan was either 21 or 22, which would have made me 30.
Okay.
And
wow, he looks a lot older than you.
He's a lot on his mind. Now, we met in Chicago at the Second City Improv Theater, where I was working at the time, and I was an actor on the ETC stage, which stands for Experimental Theater Company, and I was in a show at that time with Jack McBrayer.
Okay.
And the Second City has two theaters in Chicago. There's the flagship theater called Main Stage. That's where Belushi and Aykroyd and Tina Fey and Adam McKay and all those people, Steve Colbert. Some of those guys went back and forth between the two theaters. The only thing that separates the two theaters is a functioning kitchen, a bar.
Okay.
Yeah, that serves both the theaters. The ETC has about 200 seats. The Main Stage has about 360 seats. And so there was a English-speaking improv theater in, of all places, Amsterdam in the Netherlands. That was put together by two guys who went to Northwestern University, and they figured, hey, why don't we start an improv theater? Hey, we like two things, marijuana and improv.
They go very well together.
Let's start a theater. So Jordan worked at that theater, and there was a cast exchange that we did a couple of years, where that cast came overseas, and then to perform in our main stage. Our main stage cast flew to Holland.
Foreign exchange program.
Okay. So people were saying to Jordan, oh, you got to meet this guy Keegan. People were saying to me, our friend Becky Drysdale, who was one of the writers on Key and Peele, she introduced us. And then we went out to a diner, stayed out till like 5 a.m, just talking about Monty Python and what was funny. And then, I went home and I was like, I'm in love. I'm in comedy love. I love this kid. And then he got cast on Mad TV.
Yeah.
3 months later, and I got cast on Mad TV 6 months later. So that's how we met. We met in Chicago.
I love that.
Yeah, and he had left Chicago a couple years prior. He was working at the Second City. At that time, there was a super cast there. That's when Jim Zulovic and Rachel Dratch and Tina Fey and Scott Adsit were all on stage together at that time. It was pre-SNL and pre-30 Rock.
Right.
And he worked there. He bussed tables and was a bar back and was taking classes there.
Asking for myself, do you think the show will ever come back? Because I can understand why you decided, okay, time to do other stuff as well, but that doesn't rule out it being gone forever. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, the show will not ever come back in the form that it was.
Okay.
I think that
it's like a breakup, honestly.
I know. I'm
hey,
so yeah.
But we can still be friends.
Right. It's one of these words. I've been having a lot of this recently. I've been holding grown women on the street about and apologizing that friends from college is gone. You know what I mean? It's like I'm like so, and so I think what it is you have been witnessing the evolution. So what you've been witnessing is me wanting to get back to my roots, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, but me wanting to get back to my roots of classical theater and drama. Jordan fulfilling a dream of being a filmmaker was all starting to bubble up when we were at Key and Peele. I mean, look at the way the sketches look. They look like films.
For sure.
Because all we want to do is do films.
Movies.
I just want to write more sketches where I get to be in a harness and do action stuff because I really just want to be an action star. So we were making our dreams come true in a small way in the sketches. And so Keanu was the natural extension of Key and Peele. So I don't know what the next extension is going to be with us, but also understand Jordan Peele lives a very considered life.
What do you mean by considered?
He thinks about everything. And so unless he has a German listen, it could take him 2 years. He might call me in February of 2023 and go, I have an idea. But he's been thinking about the idea since now.
Right.
I'm talking about the idea for a
Just
movie.
that.
Forget writing it. It could take him 2.5 years to go, he'll wake up one day and go, that's a bulletproof idea. That's bulletproof. The idea has to be bulletproof before he starts futzing with it.
Right.
And then he'll bring me on board. But he's one of these guys, he's kind of an oracle in a way, you know.
You know, if you stand... I want to talk personally about you for a second. Key and Peele, you guys put it to rest. You work together a little bit, but then it's also time for separation.
Yeah.
And the moment you stepped out into the world and you were like, okay, time to, where was your mindset at? What were you thinking career-wise? What were the roles you were looking for? And then on the flip side, what was the industry seeing you as?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was immediately, and I think I'm not even making a joke. I think I'm just speaking for a lot of actors. Immediately, you're just looking for: is there a job? Is there a vine to swing to? Whatever that may be. And then it took me a few months to kind of settle down a touch and go, okay, well, look at this as an opportunity. What is it that you'd like to do? And my best friend.
Was it difficult time?
You know what? It was actually not a super difficult time. It was exciting. It was just exciting. I didn't know exactly what was going to come next. I was making a movie. I was making an independent movie at the time, and I was doing what I was moving in the direction I wanted to move. It was starting to happen. Because I was like, okay, this is the best thing for me to do. I made the most precious gem of a little movie called Don't Think Twice that was written and directed by Mike Birbiglia, who I just think is a genius. And I feel so honored to have been a part of that film. And it was moving in the right direction. I'm like, okay, here's a drama about comedy. That's a good place to start. Right. I just made a comedy about two guys pretending to be gangsters to save a kitten. I mean, this is moving in the direction I want to move in. And I met my best friend, and my best friend who I eventually married. And she asked me what was going on. What do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. And she said, if there was no obstacles in your way, what would you do? Like if there was nothing getting in your way of you achieving a thing, and you knew that for a fact, what would you want to do? And so it was like a very strange, uncomfortable moment. But I just blurted. I said, "Well, I want to do Shakespeare and I want to be Jason Bourne. I want to do Shakespeare. I want to be Jason Bourne."
Say it again.
I want to do Shakespeare. I want to be Jason Bourne. And my now wife, she goes, "Well, okay. Doug Liman's my very dear friend." I was like, oh shoot, if you put it out in the universe, you might get there. So in the last year and a half, 2 years of my life, I performed, I played Horatio in Hamlet opposite Oscar Isaac at the Public Theater, the prestigious off-Broadway theater in New York City. And then I got to go do a comedy on Broadway that was written by Steve Martin. I got to do this great fun comedy with Amy Schumer. And then I got to do nothing but action, no comedy, full action cold open of the show Impulse that Doug Liman does on YouTube Premium or whatever. What is it called now?
YouTube Red.
YouTube Red.
Yeah.
YouTube Red. So so that's the direction now. The ship is kind of turning in that direction. It's a ship that's been outfitted for comedy, but we're moving in that direction. We're going to switch up the sails. You know what I mean?
It's hard for a comedian. Well, here's the thing, because you're not. I say comedy because I love you so much in Key and Peele, but you've never started as a comedian.
No.
It was real thespian acting,
Yes,
and that's what you like. Is it tough when you're so successful at being funny to be seen by the industry as anything else but?
It is because I think. Here's the thing. I would say that it's not. Here's the thing about the industry. We sometimes people will complain and say, the industry's driven by fear. Well, humans are driven by fear. We all categorize. Everybody categorizes. It's how we survived as a species. Eat the green plant, don't eat the brown plant. That little animal is okay, that one will eat me. We have to categorize. So it's in our nature. We come by it honestly, right? That they go, well, I know we can do that. I know we can do that. I know we can do that. So let's just keep doing that. Would you mind keeping to do that? That's the thing. It's the.
Would you mind?
The perennial struggle of the actor is to say, I would mind. Right? It's like I'd rather not do that. Some actors don't care. Some I've envied them. The people who are just like, hey man,
hey, I ain't doing it.
This is my thing. This is what I do. I'm gonna do this till the day I die. Give me my money. And they don't care. And God bless them.
And a lot of the times they get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they get paid what they want.
They get what they want because you will give them money for your peace of mind.
Right.
I know she can do that, so I'm just gonna let her do that, and we're good to go. Right, everybody? We're good. Let's go make. Let's just. We know how to market to that, and then then there are people who want to stretch boundaries or want to, in a manner of speaking, return home.
Right.
And so yes, I do find it difficult. It is natural. It is a human trait to pigeonhole. You'd stop doing it if it didn't work.
Right.
Problem is, it does work to a certain degree.
What is a role that you could really do well at that you wish you got offered? Let's put that out into the universe.
I would like. It's going to be very specific. Like,
please.
There was a show. This is going to sound so obscure. No, let me try to think of something more.
No. Go with.
There was a show on Showtime called Banshee.
Yeah, of course. Banshee was just, I don't even know if it had a storyline, but it sure had people getting beaten up.
Loved it.
Non-stop, beginning to end.
Knew exactly what it was, knew exactly what it wanted to be.
You know what you're getting at every episode?
Yep.
Banshee stuff.
But you're gonna get Banshee stuff. I wanted to be on Banshee. I want to shoot people and break some legs, and then, you know what I mean? But I also.
You need therapy, by the way.
I'm already there. Trust me. There's no such thing as a normal actor.
Drink the meds. Yeah.
I would like to have been in Roman Israel Esquire. I would like to have been in that movie.
Denzel might have had. Oh, with Denzel or as?
I would like to play a role like that.
Yeah.
It's why I so thoroughly enjoyed playing Ethan in Friends from College.
Yes.
There's this murkiness about his morality, and so I enjoyed that. But really, it's like at the end of the day, I'd want to play. You know what else I'd like to play?
Go on.
Oh gosh, I can't think of Harrison Ford's character's name in Blade Runner.
Harrison Ford's character's name is K. Deckard.
That's a character I would like to play. I'd like to play any character in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. What I like are when you see, I'd also, if I could remake the movie, like a fantasy of mine is if I could remake a movie and star in it, I would be in you ever see Hard Boiled?
Yes, of course.
Chow Yun-Fat?
Yeah.
When Chow Yun-Fat takes the book, and then the blood is spilled, and then he puts the book and it fits where the blood was. Come on.
But life is not that bad right now. I'll tell you why.
Life's
it's good.
not bad.
Let me tell you something, because you're part of probably one of the most anticipated, nostalgic, beautiful feeling films coming out, The Lion King. It's a new kind of hybrid. I was honored to have the Russo brothers, the directors of Avengers Endgame here, who you would think would be at the forefront of all technology, and they let me in on the fact that Jon Favreau invited them down to the set of The Lion King, and they were blown away by the sort of tech that he's using.
It's insane.
So it's still really early days for us. Give us an in. Like, what is that experience like? Like, are you in a VO booth? Are you on set? Like,
here's what we did. I had one VO booth experience solo.
Okay.
And then I had what I would call a room experience with Eric Andre. And they had cameras that were shooting us. They had I want to say there were 2 jibs. There might have been a scopic lens and a jib, and then 15 other cameras that were just all the way around us. And Eric, we didn't have balls. We didn't have any balls on us. No.
Okay.
But Eric and I just moved through the space. And John thought it would be helpful if we're just kind of interacting with each other. And I think we had 2 sets of mics on. Right.
What are you wearing though? Just
regular clothes, but we were asked to wear dark, like something similar to what you're wearing right now is what we were wearing.
Ninja
outfits. Yeah, like a ninja outfit. Yeah. You gotta have your ninja outfit ready to go.
It's my go-to.
And so it was more for reference than anything else. Now, mind you, I've not seen the final. At this point in time, I've not seen the final, the final product.
Okay,
right.
Cool. I've seen the trailer.
Yeah. Which is insane, and even that's not done. Like it's almost done.
Right.
If you can believe it looking any more real, any more like watching a National Geographic special where animals talk. Yeah. And so we were in the room, and that was mostly for reference, and it was a lot of John kind of sitting. It's very rhythmic for John. So there's a lot of this. There's a lot of him sitting like this, and then you can see him rewinding in his mind. I'm just speaking of the craft of the story, just the text. You can see him rewinding in his mind and going, because this is going to happen, can you give me another take? But I want you to ad lib. And then I'd add, because he has a very rich improvisational pedigree.
For sure.
And he and I speak the same language and come from the same place. Favreau and I are both Chicago guys.
Right. You use words like you used at the beginning of the show that I had no idea what that was. Yeah. Go on.
And so he'll go like this. He'll go, yep, more, stop, right there. Now let's pull that out. I think that works. And then he'd probably ruminate over that. And then the next session I would pick up, he found a kernel, it's right there. You find that, and let's use that as what it's either this or a variation on this that will be a line that'll actually be in the movie. So that would happen. The very first time he came, John came out, you gotta come over here, and just throws VR helmets on me and my partner.
I heard about this. So go on, explain what this is.
This is insane. So apparently the way that they would have, the way they would do location scouting or have a production meeting is you just sit in a room like this, everybody puts on a VR helmet, somebody hits a freaking button, and then you're on the Serengeti. All of you. And then there's a little hand.
Together.
Yeah, together. Then there's like a hand image, so you have a remote, and the hand image. You can be in the cave, walk out of the cave, go out to the edge of Pride Rock, jump off, fly across the Serengeti, land in the middle of a field or the swamp or the skull place where the hyenas live, and then you can say, "What are we looking at here? Was it like 1:30ish, 1:30 p.m.? Yeah. What does it look like if it's like 6? Sun moves over. How about we make that mountain smaller?
What sort of clarity are we talking about?
This is pretty good clarity.
Okay.
Pretty good. Not as good in the VR goggles as you were going to necessarily. Now the lighting, my understanding was that was pretty accurate because the DP also has a VR. Knock that down 25%. Bring the sun up over here, and I want more shadows coming in through. What?
So what does that feel like to be part of something that has never been done before
in
film history?
Thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. Because that could be the way. If they figure out how to do all that CGI around a human, then you just know, and then just put a regular human in there.
Right.
And then we can just build everything around a regular human. I mean, Lucas started working with that with episode 1 through 3, right? Where it's just lots of green boxes and small pieces of elements here and there, and you've built a whole green world, as opposed to what we've been used to for the last 100 years, which is being on a sound stage and making practical pieces. It was extraordinary.
As an actor who, like I said, is so well versed when it comes down to all the elements of fundamental acting, what was the challenge about doing this project right? You know, we've advanced with technology, but does the fundamentals of acting and gathering your character stay the same?
Yes, it does. And like I said, I was very fortunate in both of these projects to be able to act to another person.
Gotcha.
One of the great challenges in animation, of course, is that you're very often in that booth isolated by yourself. So you're trying to think, and so it's always helpful to have a really good reader. But if you don't have a reader, or the reader's in the booth, you have to conjure up that sense of, there's been times I'll be in a booth and I'll pretend the person pushed me. I'll have to it gets very schizophrenic. You have to act as if there's someone else there. And in this one, I was very, very fortunate to have a really nice lengthy session with Eric. And then it was very important to John to let you watch even stuff that wasn't rendered, but just watch watch the feel and the movement and the nature of the story, so that, and then we'd run down to the booth so that you keep it in you, keep it sticky to you, and so we would do that, and but the challenge that it poses is, again, that you've got to unlock all of that childlike wonder that you had when you were younger, and dare to risk. Can I give this suggestion? John also tried to make an open, warm place where you can go and feel normal. And go, that's not going to be in the movie, but I needed it to unlock this. That would then unlock that. And then we're in good shape, right? And then maybe, now we found something. Which is why Pixar movies work so well. It takes 5 to 7 years to make a Pixar movie. Knock yourself out. Take 10 years if you're going to make a perfect movie. Y'all just sitting up there in Oakland, California, making perfect movies.
Pretty much.
Why? You take 5 years.
Right.
Instead of making a movie while you're writing a movie.
It's true.
You know? Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did, absolutely. Answer this question. Any singing from you in this? And if so, how are you sounding?
No singing in this.
Okay.
No singing. I'm doing a project right now where I'm singing.
Where you're singing?
Yes, where I'm singing, and I'm very excited about it.
You know, Beyonce's also in The Lion King.
That's why I am.
Are you going for, like, you're turning up on days where you're not even meant to be there?
I think the thing about Beyonce is, I can't tell you how convoluted and serpentine that kind of security must have been. I guarantee you, there's no way I was ever going to know when she was recording. I would have known if she was in the building. Secret bat cave doors, and there's no way anybody knew where she was at any time ever when she was doing that. I guarantee it. Yeah.
I tell you what, I can't wait to see what happens.
It's going to be breathtaking. Breathtaking.
Let's talk about, man, I have so much stuff to ask you, but we're running out of time. What is on your watch list at home?
So I've been doing a little catch up. I have been watching Barry on HBO, which I'm catching up on, which I really enjoy.
We're big fans of that show over here.
And I think Barry is a masterclass in tone. I really enjoy what Bill and Alec have done with the tone of the show. And also, because sometimes when you're trying to do juxtaposition, it gets wonky because this might get too frivolous, and that's too graphic.
They've got it.
They've got it right in the middle.
They've molded us to understand that's...
Maybe that's what...
Do you understand? We've been brainwashed, kind of.
Right, yeah. So I think that's right, yeah, because they've brainwashed us good because they're very sly about teaching us the rules. In a caper, Ocean's 11,
right.
You teach us the rules, and then you teach us that we're going to now try to do this one thing.
Yes.
And then you go do the one thing. In this show, the show is because remember, in a movie you're building a story, and in a TV you're building a world. And I just need to know the rules of the world. And the rules of the world is that this is going to happen in the acting part, and this is going to happen in the hitman part, and it's gorgeous. And the acting's fantastic. They pick just the right actors to fit all the tone correctly, and it's no easy task. So I'm really, really impressed by it, and that show I'm enjoying quite a lot.
Next up,
then I'm also I am really looking forward to the next season of Black Mirror. I wasn't aware that it was just 3 episodes until you mentioned to me earlier.
And I hope I'm right. I hope
Yeah.
I'm not spreading false rumors,
Yeah,
but
so.
I've heard 3 episodes is what we're getting next.
You see this new trend, right? With this trend that started with Game of Thrones, which is this elongated moments. Because now that there's no rules at Netflix, you can make a 50-minute episode or a 33-minute episode or an 82-minute episode.
I was watching Love, Sex and Robots, and that is like a 6-minute episode here.
I
and
love Love, Sex and Robots.
Yeah.
Because you get a 17-minute episode, 22, 8.5. Well, not quite that short, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I love Love, Sex and Robots. That was you're not going to use this, but that's what I was trying to mention earlier.
Oh,
there was another show that
gotcha.
because boy oh boy, the renderings on that look really good. It looks super real. And then the other thing is,
wait, tell me first. Let's talk about Black Mirror for a second.
Yeah.
Because we're kindred spirits right here.
Yeah.
I could be the new Jordan Peele. Let's go. Black Mirror. What do you love about Black Mirror? And I actually thought what we were talking about earlier was very funny.
I said I have to still catch up a little bit on the last season of Black Mirror because I was shooting a movie and I'm sitting in a dark hotel room by myself in Vancouver and I'm going, all right, I've got to get up at 5 a.m. Yeah. Do I want to induce this nightmare? What do I do? Maybe I'll watch it. I'll watch it tomorrow when the sun's out.
And you know this, when it's a good show is when you actually have to think about your own psychology and your psychosis.
What will my psychology be? So when I was in Vancouver, I binged Sex Education with Asa Butterfield and Gillian Anderson, which I really thoroughly enjoyed and thought was a great combination of a very sensitive piece, but also a sex romp, like a teenage sex romp, which really is was such a thing that was in vogue in the early '80s. So
Porky's.
Yeah, Porky's, exactly. Yeah, and Porky's Revenge. But it was very classily done.
Porky's Revenge.
Porky's 2, Porky's Revenge. And so.
You know what I'm doing tonight.
So but the other thing about Black Mirror that's so, to quote Malcolm Gladwell, sticky.
Yeah.
That's so sticky about it. Is that it's not taking place 30 years in the future. It's 5 years in the future.
Right.
Or 9 years in the future. And that's what makes it so palpably scary and deliciously dreadful.
Right.
That's what I like about it, and that some of the concepts work really well for me. Some don't. Everybody has their own taste. I mean, I am a huge San Junipero fan. I'm a huge Christmas episode fan. Mm-hmm. I think those ones that get very, very, very existential appeal to me more, because the other ones sometimes they hit so close to home they make me. The uncomfortableness is not as enjoyable, but I feel almost an obligation to watch it because this is the direction that we're going in, and I think that the bookers are really.
You're right. There is something unpleasant about watching Black Mirror.
But it's like picking a scab where it hurts, but you kind of because I feel like I'm informed in a way other people are not informed.
Yeah.
And so bravo to the showrunners for being able to make a project that has that sensibility. Yeah.
Let's go for one more. The trifecta. What else? This is great so far. Barry, Black Mirror. What's last?
It's not a B. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm really looking forward to.
For sure.
I think it's going to be. I'm looking forward to Quentin Tarantino's. I love his frame. I love the way he looks at the world, but he also is a person who's been an Angelino for so long that I look forward to seeing the specificity of how he tells this particular story. I mean, we've heard, there's Manson stories we've heard many times in the past.
Sharon Tate stories.
Tate stories, and I used to live in that neighborhood. I used to live in Los Feliz, in that area. But I think it's now we're putting it in the hands of a person who I know wasn't necessarily there in the zeitgeist of that time, but I believe wholeheartedly that he will do justice to chronicling that era, and so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward as a fan to seeing how people respond to Lion King, to how this It feels somehow that it's beyond something that's being rebooted. It's just amazing that we have the opportunity to have classics. There was something when I was young where I thought, I'm going to grow up, and when I hear about things like It's a Wonderful Life or Wizard of Oz or Citizen Kane, we'll never ever have classics like that. And then I got a little bit older and I said, okay, we're never going to have classics like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
We're never going to have, I think Midnight Run is a classic. We're never going to have classics like that. And then we did. And then the 90s rolled around and Disney had this kind of amazing resurgence. You think of films like Aladdin and Hunchback and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, they're an encapsulation of a time and of a nation.
Yeah.
And for us to, and I feel like we're going to be able to do it justice again.
Nostalgia factor is a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a dangerous thing.
It's a very dangerous thing.
It's a little sketchy sometimes.
It's interesting because the Pixar guys said, they always say, we have to have a reason. It can take a half a year to a year to figure out why would we make this movie. But any movie, why would we make Cars? Why would we make Brave? Why would we make Up? What's the reason for making the film? And so I know, they've discussed with me, there's another chapter in Woody's evolution as a being on this planet. There is another story. For those guys in Emeryville, California, it's not about money. It's about honoring these characters. And that's why I'm so honored to work with these real craftsmen, real artists. It's really, really, really exhilarating.
Listen, this has been, I told you when you walked in, I'm a big fan. This has been a lot of fun. It's such an honor to meet you. Thank you so much for coming by the show as well.
This has
such
been
a pleasure.
Thanks for, let's go and deep dive on it and really talking about some stuff. It's the IMDb show.
Yes, sir. Come back anytime.